Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever seen a ghost that wasn't scary? Have you ever seen a ghost that was intentionally not scary? Do you even know what this is a reference to? Well, tonight, we're going to be exploring a couple of ghost stories. Ghosts are considered one of the most common monsters in horror stories. However, plenty of authors have used them in ways that are meant to express more than just fear. Ghosts can be symbolic of trauma, grief, guilt, secrets, so much more. So tonight, myself and my 3 library helpers are going to introduce you to 3 titles that use their ghosts in a wide variety. Something for the horror haters and the horror lovers as well, and those of you in between. Our first book tonight is Afterlife by Gail Forman. Now, Gail Forman is a incredibly well-known name in young adult literature. Afterlife is a work of magical realism, meaning it mostly takes place in the real world, but has key fantastical elements. In this case, our fantastical element is, well, a ghost. Our main character, Amber, comes home from school one day, the way she always does. Only today is different. When her family gets home, they don't look the same, and they look horrified to see her, shocked, confused. As it turns out, 7 years have passed. Amber had passed away 7 years ago on her way home, but now, here she is. Except, she isn't sure if she's fully there either. While Amber may not explicitly at times say she is a ghost, we are given heavy description to understand she's some type of ghost or spirit that is now back with her family. This book is going to present you with a lot of questions. Is Amber really back? What is she? Is she just a ghost? Just a spirit? Is she imagined by the family? Is she a reliable narrator? But as many questions as the book presents you with, you're going to find a good amount of answers and come to terms with a lot of things, the same way Amber and her family must come to terms with grief. That's pretty heavy, but not necessarily scary. If you're not a horror fan, but you'd like to explore the idea of ghosts outside of horror, my library assistant Garfield here recommends you read Afterlife by Gail Forman. Now, we're going to take it up a step here, so stick with me. We're going to move a little bit up on our scale of horror here. Our next recommendation is The Corruption of Hollis Brown by Kay Ancrum. Now, Kay Ancrum is a contemporary speculative fiction author. She has very much been dedicated to writing a diverse range of stories and telling diverse stories. The Corruption of Hollis Brown is a story that focuses on our main character, Hollis, who is a social outcast. He has his friends who are defending him constantly, but he is very much targeted by other kids, often getting into altercations. He's not well liked, and it leads to Hollis having these sort of hostile feelings as well. Hollis meets a character named Walt. Walt, seeing Hollis, who is down on his luck at the time, offers to help him. If Hollis will help Walt, Walt will help Hollis. A kind of deal with the devil situation. As we see, the help Hollis has to provide Walt is actually a ghost. And Walt has now taken partial possession of Hollis's body. Now, Hollis retains the ability to communicate with Walt silently through inner monologues, and they can kind of share emotions, and sometimes Hollis has some level of control over the body, but for the most part, Walt is in charge now. And he keeps trying to explain that somehow this will benefit Hollis. Hollis is at times horrified, but oftentimes more angry than he is scared, which helps cut down on the horror aspect. So in our first book, we had some level of ambiguity, some level of
Is Amber a ghost? Is she a spirit? Is she really there? With Walt in this story, we don't have as much ambiguity. There is a brief point where Hollis questions if Walt is a ghost or a demon, but it's important that Hollis comes to the conclusion that he is a ghost because he is looking for the humanity in Walt. In this case, our ghost is meant to represent a suppressed self. So we can think of it as a secret. Things that cannot be said aloud about them, things that cannot be shared, like the fact that Hollis cannot share that a ghost is possessing his body. There are things about Hollis that Hollis does not feel safe sharing. So in this case, our ghost is much more focused on what it represents to our main character, as opposed to our last story where the main character was a ghost. If you're looking for a story that has ghosts and some horror elements, but maybe you are a little worried about being too scared, then my library assistant Pusheen recommends you read The Corruption of Hollis Brown by Kay Ankrum. Now, this is our last recommendation. It is what I would argue is the most horror-related story on this list, and it is the one that uses its ghosts in the most traditionally horror-based way. This is aptly named Songs for Ghosts by Claire Kumagai. Now, she's a relatively new author on the scene. She doesn't have a lot of works already out there, but I think this work shows a lot of potential. So we're going to talk about this book. Songs for Ghosts is a coming-of-age novel. Our main character, Adam, is a teenager who he is Japanese American. So he's half white, half Japanese. And this creates an internal conflict with Adam where he doesn't feel very understood, especially now that his mother, who is Japanese, had passed away before the events of the book. And so he lives with his father, who he feels very disconnected from, and his white stepmother and his new baby stepbrother. So Adam feels like there's a part of him people don't understand. And he's kind of pushed into embracing it, but he doesn't know how to embrace the part of him that is Japanese. That is, until he finds a journal. He finds this journal in his house that is written from the perspective of a Japanese woman who was alive before World War II, and she is a biwa player, which is an instrument similar to kind of like a banjo. It's a stringed instrument. Adam becomes very enthralled with this journal and starts to learn more about what biwa players do, and learns that she communes with ghosts through her use of that. And he becomes super involved in understanding how she has to use music and what she does to communicate with ghosts, to prevent ghosts from becoming hungry. When the ghosts become hungry, they become violent. They get angry at whoever they're targeting, and they can harm whoever they are targeting. Adam ends up being targeted by hungry ghosts and decides he needs to go to Japan with his friend to help him uncover the mystery of who is this woman who wrote this journal, and how can he help her spirit as he starts to realize that she might be one of these hungry ghosts now. So, if you're ready for a ghost story that feels like a proper haunting, then my library assistant Hello Kitty here recommends that you read Songs for Ghosts by Clara Kumagai. And that wraps up our book talk for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember, our books today were Afterlife by Gail Foreman, The Corruption of Hollis Brown by Kay Ankrum, and Songs for Ghosts by Clara Kumagai. Pick these up from your local library. But my cat here, Pepperjack, recommends you read all 3 books. Say bye, Pepperjack.